Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tighter Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of Tighter Insider TV, as you heard, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Visit Tuscaloosa alongside Rodney Orr from TighterInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Well, it's been said, Rodney, that all good things must come to an end. I guess that includes Alabama men's basketball historic NCAA tournament run. The number 4 seed in the West region, Alabama, fell to the top overall number 1 seed, UConn, 86-72 in the NCAA men's Final Four national semifinal game Saturday night inside State Farm Stadium. Don't let that Final Four fool you, the final score fool you. If you watch the game, you know it was much closer than that. It was still in doubt with about 4 minutes to go. Mark Sears led 3 Crimson Tide players in double figures with 24 points, followed by Grant Nelson with 19 and Aaron Estrada with 13. Somehow, Sears did not make the all-tournament team. That's disappointing. Alabama finished its season with a 25-12 overall record, but, big but, reached the school's first ever Final Four. Congratulations to the Crimson Tide and head coach Nate Oats on a history-making season. And Rodney, when you look at what Alabama has done to get to this point, you guess you could look back and say, well, maybe what could they have done a little bit better against UConn? I'm not sure anything. They shot the lights out in the first half, and we're still down 44-40. Second half, UConn is very good defensively. You saw they clamped down on Purdue last night. So I think a lot of times you do second guess games. I think in this case for me, and I want to get your response, is I just look at it and Alabama had a magical year. UConn's the best team in the country. UConn was just better. I don't know, outside, I guess, just going crazy from the three-point line, what Alabama could have done differently in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama played really well, and it just wasn't good enough because UConn is that good. I mean, they're extremely talented. There's a reason why they're back-to-back national champions, Gary. And again, look, I mean, they could play 10 times and Alabama might not beat them. That's how good UConn is. But the run that Alabama made, you talked about the history-making run. Again, I think when you take that next step like they have, certainly it's going to pay dividends in the future. Next time Alabama gets to this point, now they're going to have that experience of having been there. So, really this experience, I think, is something that's laying the groundwork for the future.
And I guess you could say this. In that first half when Alabama really played well, down 44-40, you got the feeling in that half maybe the officiating didn't do Alabama any favors. You know what I'm saying, Rod? And if they had had a lead at half, maybe it would have been different. This is a great video of the team coming back and the fans greeting them at the airport on Sunday afternoon. But in the second half, Alabama's right there, as I said with 4 or 5 minutes to go. And Alabama had won a lot of close games this year. In fact, the games they lost, usually they had lost them, at least in the SEC, by a pretty good margin. But when it came winning time, UConn did what it had to do.
Yeah, that's why they're who they are right now, Gary. Again, with 11 minutes left in the game, it's a 56-all game.
Yeah.
And UConn goes on that 8-0 run. That kind of let you know right there the direction it was going. Again, Alabama played about as well as they could play. I mean, again, this is a fantastic team. Certainly. This Alabama fans should be extremely proud of.
Alabama's had teams before that should have gone to the Final Four, in my opinion, including 2 that Nate Oats has had. I don't think this is the best team in Alabama history, but it is clearly the most accomplished. To me, that's different. And this team will always have history on its side because it was the first. There have been some teams, Rodney, that were more talented. There have been some teams, I think, that the expectation was to make it to the Final Four. But it was this team who, quite frankly, was a good team, but not as good as last year's teams in turn of talent, not as good as the Herb Jones team. But it was the one instead of running into the hot team, other teams ran it. North Carolina ran into the hot team. Alabama was the hot team this year.
Yeah, and I think it's probably fair to say Alabama did get a favorable draw there early on, you know, with the games that they had, Charleston, Grand Canyon. Not that those aren't really good teams, because they are. And how many times have we seen teams like that win those games? So Alabama had to take care of business. They did. But I think once Alabama got their feet under them, they kind of got their momentum back that they had earlier in the year. They knew they could play with anybody. You saw that against North Carolina. You saw that against Clemson. They just ran into a juggernaut. Yeah, they did, but what a season. And now it's time for Coach Talk. Alabama basketball's run to the Final Four had the state buzzing, and optimism is high that
it's not going to stop anytime soon. Alabama head coach Nate Oats certainly believes that. He made it clear at the Final Four. As much fun as this season was, there's still more work to be done.
Well, it was great, and I want to, thank them and thank our players for getting us here. We're not finished. We'd like to get back here and win this whole thing, and I think that's what our goal is going to be. We're going to aim to get back here. We're going to aim to get back here and win the final game, and we just got to keep knocking at the door and, ask for them to continue to support us like the way they've been, and we'll continue to put a winning product on the floor for them.
Gotta love it, and Coach Oats is going to be the guy that's going to be working to do that. A lot of rumors about Kentucky with Coach Cal leaving to go to Arkansas, but Coach Oats put those rumors to rest last night on social media with this statement: Bama Nation, I'm fully committed to this team and to this university. We have already accomplished some great things here, and there is nothing I want more than for the University of Alabama to win its first national championship in men's basketball. Despite any rumors to the contrary, rest assured that I will continue that pursuit as your head coach. Roll Tide, right? You got to love it, like I said. And listen, we'll never know for sure, like the Alabama football coaching search. What's true, what's not. But there's no doubt. I've talked with people, I've read from reporters and writers that I respect, that Nate Oats was one of the people of interest, person of interest for Kentucky, AD Mitch Barnhart. And I don't know that he would have gotten an offer or gotten the job, but he was one of the guys they were looking at, and he just went ahead and nipped it in the bud.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it's going to be every year in terms of other schools having interest. But, to be able to kind of be in that talk, the discussion for the Kentucky job, only the elite of the elite, right, Gary. And so that's really speaks volumes about how Nate Oats feels about this program, the direction it's headed, the future of this program, and how he feels about this community.
Final Four is already out of the way now. Now the key is to get back there. Do you think he's the coach that will bring Alabama its first national championship?
I think certainly the evidence is there, Gary, that Alabama's on the right track to do that. I think the talent that he brings in, his coaching style, the way Alabama can really light it up. There's a lot of people that say Nate Oats is the future, his style, what he does. I think there's certainly, I'm not going to predict a national championship. That's, we see how difficult that is to do. But I think he's going to have Alabama in position to do it.
Of course, he's going to lose coaches, just like Coach Saban. When you're successful, people want your people, and that's already happened last year and this year, but he's still the man in charge. Rodney, obviously Alabama made a financial commitment to him. They extended him and gave him a big raise just a few weeks ago. But one of your sources tells you that, with Kentucky showing interest, that Alabama stepped up even more in the NIL department, and also maybe not with a new competition arena just yet, but a facility that Nate Oats feels is more important.
Yeah, locker rooms, those types of things. Gary, training facility, I think that's coming. I also think you mentioned the NIL. I think the pledges doubled yesterday.
Wow.
Alabama's making that commitment and stepped up.
All right, Rod, still to come on Tider Insider Television. Alabama football is in its final week of spring practice. We'll have the latest as we count down to A-Day. And coming up, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, that phone number, 205-348-WVU8. That's 348-9882. Or you can always send us an email, TITV@WVU823.com. Or, shout at us on social media. We'll be looking for those tweets as well. This is the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV is coming right back. Welcome back to TITV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. With Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris, and 2 practices remain in the spring football season for Alabama after today's practice, and one will be later this week, and then it's Saturday's day game. The Crimson Tide held practice number 13 today. We've got some video. Our Stu McCann on hand to grab some of the video, as this was one of the practices that we got to view. There's Milroe and Simpson. Rodney, I want to talk about the scrimmage, though, because you and I both were among the small media contingent that was there for Coach DeBoer on Saturday afternoon, and with most people out in Phoenix for the Final Four that cover Alabama. But you were able to talk to some people. I was able to talk to some people. Of course, Saturday everybody will get to see the team in action. But what were some of your takeaways from Saturday's scrimmage?
You know, Gary, you and I have been doing this a long time. You can talk to 10 people. You're going to get a variety of different perspectives. But, you know, I think everything's gone extremely well. It sounds like the scrimmage went better, the scrimmage 2 from 1. So that's really what you want. I think if you talk about some of the keys, you and I have talked about this. The offensive line is probably the key to this team right now in terms of the question marks that are around it. But, you know, they were better. The pass protection was improved. That was something Kalen DeBoer mentioned he wanted to see. We know about the quarterbacks. It's a great quarterback room. Ty Simpson had a really big day. Milrose had a big spring. Dylan Lonergan showed some great things. Austin Mack, the transfer from Washington. There you see Danny Lewis, the tight end. He's had a really good spring defensively. They say Kane Womack's defense is flying around, making tackles, and, certainly not missing a lot of assignments, those types of things. So I think right now everything sounds really positive. Looking forward to seeing them on A-Day.
Yeah, and as Alabama wraps up spring drills with the A game on Saturday at 3 o'clock, besides quarterback, which will have a lot of interest, you've already mentioned offensive line, but I think that you've got 5 offensive linemen that go out there, obviously. But there are 5 backups as well. I think that there's a chance, don't you, Rodney, that the offensive line that we see taking the field to start the game for the first team in the 8A game might not be the same one that we see to start the season, whether it's guys coming in, obviously Proctor's coming back, or some guys maybe that right now are running second team. I don't think that offensive line is settled, do you?
I think there's certainly a lot of competition. I think you make a great point. I mean, obviously, Caden Proctor is one guy that's coming in on the offensive line. Of course, he was here last year, transferred to Iowa, coming back. But Gary, I think they're going to hit the portal for more guys because Saturday they only had 12 guys on scholarship participating. Now, Parker Brailsford to be back, that'll be 13, Proctor to be 14. You probably want a couple of more. You've got to get your numbers up, so I do expect them to hit the portal.
Young guys to watch, freshmen that have already enrolled. Caleb Odom certainly has made a flash this spring on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Coach DeBoer talked about him. There he is. We talked about him very early, Gary. You know, we thought he was going to be an Amari Niblack type, H-back type guy. Comes in, he's playing wide receiver. He's done phenomenally well. You see number 21 there too in the screen. That's another young player, Bubba Hampton, who's a freshman too, who's had some good moments.
And Jeremy Bernard, the Washington wide receiver transfer.
Yeah,
I think he's going to have a big year.
Really big, really big. Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice has really stepped up. You're hearing his name a lot. And I really hate that Jalen Hale went down. We want to mention him. He may be back for the fall. Hopefully he will.
And on defense, a lot of young guys looking to make a splash, especially in the secondary. Red Morgan's name has come up a lot when you talk to people in the building.
Yeah, with all that talent, that young talent they brought in, those 5-star players, those Zay Mincy, Xavier Brown, Jalen Mbakwe, those guys at corner. Red Morgan's guys, only a 3-star player out of Phoenix City Central. It just kind of goes to show you those rankings aren't always really accurate. He's been very good. I think he plays more that Husky position, which is a star, nickelback. He can also play safety.
And we've been asked a lot about Tony Mitchell out of Thompson High School in Alabaster.
You know, he's just really talented. I mean, Tony's, he's got a great build. He's really got the frame. He's got the athleticism and all of those things. But and he is. He's working out there. He's with some of those top groups, getting reps.
Yeah, his second year in the program. All right, as we mentioned, Alabama will wrap it up on Saturday, 3 o'clock. The 8A game will be televised by ESPN. It's the only 8A game that will be aired live on ESPN, but still, I know they want to see a big crowd for Coach DeBoer in his first game. You and I sat in that press box in 2007. We'll never get over it.
Never.
Middle of second quarter, people are still coming in. They're unlocking gates. Over 90,000. I don't think we're going to get to 90,000, but Rodney, I think 75,000 is a number that sounds really good to me.
I just hope they have a really good crowd, good showing, because, again, this is a change. Obviously, the era change there with Coach Saban, the transition here. You really want to welcome Coach DeBoer, much like you did Coach Saban. You know, I think it's really big. I think it's important to show that enthusiasm. And you're going to have a lot of recruits there, Gary. I think it's really important to show that. Again, perception means a lot sometimes. People watching it on TV, they see it, they get excited about it. So hopefully a big crowd turns out.
And the weather is supposed to be fabulous. So keep that in mind, too. All right, coming up here on TITV, it is going to be that time when we take some phone calls. Plus, we'll be talking about Bama Gymnastics, headed again to the NCAA Championships. That's always an accomplishment. And as I said, we'll be getting your phone calls, emails, and tweets. That phone number again, 205-348-9882. Go ahead and give us a call, TITV Nation. We want to hear from you next. Well, the number 8 Alabama gymnastics team is headed to Fort Worth, Texas for the 2024 NCAA championships after finishing second at the Ann Arbor Regional this past Saturday night. Alabama scored 197.575, and that fell in only behind Oklahoma's 198.4. Top 2 teams advanced, so there you have it. Lisa Blanco sealed the deal for the Tide on the final rotation. She scored a 9.9 on the vault. It's the 9th time this season she's hit 9.9 in the event. NCAA championships begin next Thursday, April 18th. And welcome back into TITV with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. It is time to get to some phone calls, and we're going to go up to Northport and talk to Wolfgang. Hey, Wolfgang. Good evening. How are you?
Good. Hey, I just wanted to know about the basketball team. They said they had 3 5-stars coming in. I want to know who they are and where they're from.
Okay, it's Sherelle and Reed are the 2 5-stars that I know of. If it's a third.
Reed, and he's probably referring to Nas Cunningham, who's also an outstanding player. I don't know that he's really a 5-star.
He's not now. I think at one time he was. And
he was.
But still, it's a highly rated recruiting class.
It is,
and when they told, when Stu was telling us that we had a question about 5-stars in the 2025 class, I was thinking football. But no, with Nate Oats, you're absolutely right, Wolfgang. You got Sherelle and Reed, both of whom were in the McDonald's High School All-American game last year as 5-stars. And you know, you're right about Cunningham. He was I think maybe when he was a sophomore, he might have been the #1 player in his class. Yeah. And so, it's big-time talent coming into Tuscaloosa out of the recruiting trail. And also, Bama's going to get in the portal. Probably going to lose a couple in the portal, but they'll look to add to it as well. All right, let's go ahead and get to our email question of the day. And our email question of the day is brought to you by KDM Service Corporation. KDM Service Corporation, serving your family like our family. Let's take a look at it. And it is from Rocky and Daphne. Is Jaron Stevenson transferring to North Carolina? I think there's a lot of speculation about that, Rocky, simply because he's from Chapel Hill. He reclassified to come to Alabama. Played against North Carolina, of course, and then lit Clemson up, with 5 3-pointers to get to the Final Four in his freshman season. To me, my answer to that is why? Yeah. Why would you transfer? You're on a team that just went to the Final Four. You're going to be a major part of Nate Oats' building of this team coming up. I think he'll stay. Yeah.
You know, after the game, was it against Clemson, Gary? When it might have been the North Carolina game, when Nate Oats looked at him and said, "Hey, Jaron, the team Chapel Hill, they don't practice tomorrow." Meaning they're out of it. We're still in it, So this is something that I think, obviously, Nate Oats really wants Jaron Stevenson to stay. I mean, he wants him here, obviously. You're right. Gary had that great game, hit 5 threes, and a lot of speculation out there. I guess we'll have to just wait and see.
All right. I am told by Ashley that phone lines are open, and that doesn't happen very often. 205-348-WVOA. I guess with the Final Four run ending, maybe the phone lines have slowed down, but we'd love to get a call. 205-348-9882. Are we going to get to an email before we hit the break? Is that the plan? Oh, we're going to go ahead and go to the break. But the phone lines are open, so if you want to give us a call, 205-348-9882. Let us hear from you. We'll be right back after this. Well, Alabama baseball, life in the SEC, man, they had a rough weekend in Lexington. I mean, they didn't just lose, they got hammered. Outscored 23-3 in the 3-game series, including a series finale 10-1 loss. Ryan Nicholson had 2 home runs and 5 RBI in that game. Disappointing for Alabama is this. They're 4-2 in the SEC at home, but 2 road series, they're 0-6. They've been swept twice. That's just it's disappointing, but it's the SEC. Alabama's taking on South Alabama right now. We'll have highlights on the news at 10, and then Crimson Tide this weekend. Not only is it 8-day weekend, they're hosting #1 ranked Arkansas in baseball. Alabama softball, just the opposite. They got a sweep. Of course, I'm going to be fair about this. This is no disrespect to Ole Miss, and I'm happy Alabama got a sweep after starting out 3-6 in the league, but they ought to swept Ole Miss. Ole Miss is awful. So it's great for Alabama, don't get me wrong, but still, and it gets them to 6-6 in the league. But, it's Ole Miss.
Might be a momentum deal.
Oh, yeah, and they get A&M coming in here this weekend. Big weekend in Tuscaloosa. A&M comes in here for alumni weekend and 8-day weekend softball coming off a 3-game sweep. All right, we are going to get to an email. All right, y'all have to speak up. I can hardly hear you. We're going to get to an email. Going to have to speak up in my ear. All right, let's get to it. And it is from Jim in Sparks, Nevada, one of our regular viewers way out there in Nevada. I know Alabama just extended his contract, but would he leave for Kentucky? About Nate Oats? No. That, as we talked about at the top, I know that question came in, actually emailed it to us yesterday before the news. But no, Nate Oats is here at Alabama. He put out a matter-of-fact statement. Doesn't mean that somewhere along the line, things happen. But for right now, I think he's clearly focused on one goal, and that's to win a national championship here.
That's it.
Yeah. So, thanks. All right. Let's get back to the phone lines. Evelyn is with us from up in Coleman. Hey, Evelyn, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I just wanted to say that I am extremely proud of our basketball team.
Yes, ma'am.
They had several games this year that the calls I thought were not good, and a lot of them, but they are amazing. They're disciplined. They have character, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
Yeah.
And
Well, Evelyn, I think you kind of summed up the thoughts of a lot of Alabama fans, just proud. I was talking with somebody on social media the other day, been watching Alabama basketball going back to the late 60s, and talked about, of course I knew a lot of those teams, all the times that they had their heart broken thinking this was going to be the year, and this person's now 84 years old and did not know if they were going to ever see a Final Four in their lifetime. And this person, because I'm not going to name them since it was a social media private message, this person just said, you know what, if I die tomorrow, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, Gary, like you said, that 76 team, how good was that? And they happened to play one of the great teams, like a UConn.
31-0, yeah.
Indiana. So, they had some opportunities that didn't come to fruition.
But everybody's proud, Evelyn. You're right. That's a great way. All right. Thanks for the phone calls and emails. We'll be back to wrap up TITV right after this.
Well, there you go.
We're back. Hey, we're always checking for information.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what we're doing right there.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to Tider Insider TV, presented by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Don't forget, if you missed it or you want to catch a replay, you can do so tonight at 10:30 on WVUA 23, or catch it anytime at WVUA23.com. All right, we're going to leave you with some video from Alabama Track and Field hosting the Crimson Tide Invitational over the weekend at the Sam Bailey Track and Field Stadium. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week.